Hey everyone, Jim Coventry from Rotowire here, getting a little bit early of a start. 11 Eastern, we'll do the question and answer, but I figured the 10 minutes sooner, I'll just go over some player and game notes quickly for those who are maybe watching to stay open to stream a bit late. And so again, I'll take questions as they come up at the top of the hour. Looking at the San Francisco-Chicago game, let's look for a slow-paced game here. Both of these teams are bottom 10 in snap speed per game. Welcome everybody who's coming in. I'll take questions top of the hour. I'll give you some game previews for the next 9 minutes or so. So expect a slow-paced game, Chicago, San Francisco, and both teams are going to probably keep this pretty conservative. What I do like for fantasy in this game is that the 49ers are really bad against wide receiver twos. Their DVOA is like third. Hey, Kavon. And so this is really a game where I think that Darnell Mooney is in a phenomenal spot. He's a great DFS play. He's who we could get him in your fantasy lineups. And there are a lot of injuries on the San Francisco side of the ball on defense, and they are going to be hurting. The Pat D Ford's even announced that their pass rush is going to hurt. They're down a free safety. So it's a big Mooney day. I'm going to take questions at the top of the hour, guys. So hang on. I'm going to give a little preview for 9 minutes. I'll be happy to answer all your questions as they roll in. And then on the San Francisco side of the ball, and they're on offense. The Bears are the worst in the league against wide receiver ones, and Khalil Mack is out, and that pass rush is really going to struggle without him. Deebo Samuel is in for a phenomenal game today, and so definitely like that there. But the Bears, like I said, without it, with Mack, that's going to really hurt them. The Pittsburgh-Cleveland game, and I'm going to answer questions top of the hour, so again, hold those questions, and I'll get to them at the top. Pittsburgh-Cleveland, another slow-paced game. These two teams are in the bottom half of the league in pace per play. And so it'll be slower. And also, I'm concerned Baker Mayfield is always a hit from being removed from a game. So I have a lot of concerns there. If Keenan comes in, I was not happy with his arm strength in that last game. He was a gunslinger a few years back, and he didn't have that. He had Beckham open for an easy touchdown, and he almost had the ball picked off. So that concerns me there. Nick Chubb should be back. You're not scared of the Pittsburgh matchup because he's Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb can get it done regardless, so never worry about him. He's a contrarian DFS play because of the matchup and coming off the calf injury. But other than that, Deontay Johnson is a good matchup. Denzel Ward, the corner, is out for Pittsburgh. So I think they'll be able to utilize him in a heavy target situation. Cleveland does have a really good pass rush, so that's going to be problematic for Ben Roethlisberger. So I think it's a big Deontay Johnson point per reception day. Not so much for Chase Claypool. The downfield stuff probably not there. Now, again, welcome everybody. Those who are in, questions I'll answer at the top of the hour, 7 minutes from now. I'm going to do the quick game previews until that point, and I'll get to all those questions. Rams and Houston's an interesting game. We know that the Rams are a huge road favorite here. And on the Houston side, so I do expect, obviously, the Rams to play with the lead. We never know how these games are going to shake out. But David Johnson has been seeing about 55% of the snaps in 3 of the last 4 games. And I do think now with Mark Ingram gone, I think he's going to get more early down work. I think he's going to get a lot of targets because of the trailing nature. Davis Mills will dump it off to him. So I think David Johnson at 4,200 is a really good play on DraftKings. I think he's a good player in PPR leagues, even half PPR leagues, if you need the depth there. Brandon Cooks, I worry about. Sometimes Jalen Ramsey will travel. He does play the slot most of the time, but I don't know when the Rams identify this game if they think they need him to be there. And if they choose to travel him on Cooks, I love Cooks, but I don't trust Davis Mills to get him the ball. So Cooks is real risky this week. On the Rams side, wheels up for everybody. It's a phenomenal matchup for Tyler Higbee. He's running routes. He's playing 100% of the snaps in the last 2 games. So it's going to be interesting to see how much they're going to spread the ball around if they need to. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is always going to go off when they give him the ball. I've said this all preseason and during the season. He gets schemed wide open, and Jared Goff, you couldn't make those throws in the past. Matthew Stafford can make those throws, and so that's why we see Cooper Kupp blow up every week. They give him targets. Again, welcome everybody. Questions at the top of the hour, about 5 minutes. We're going to do a little game breakdown here. Miami Buffalo. So I love the opportunity for Myles Gaskin at first when we knew that Malcolm Brown went on the injured reserve. However, those idiots in Miami, they bring Patrick Laird. They add him to the roster, and now he's a pass-catching back. And Gaskin's use has been all over the board. There's been no rhyme or reason to it. It's been very, very frustrating. And so Myles Gaskin, he does have potential in a game they're going to trail, and running backs can produce as receivers. But I have to be concerned about Patrick Laird stealing opportunities from Gaskin. Gaskin is a floor ceiling play. If he's on the field, he could get 10 receptions in this game like he did a couple weeks ago. But if Laird becomes part of the mix, all of a sudden we might not see him get much at all. Welcome everybody taking questions at the top of the hour in 5 minutes. I will answer all those questions. Just doing some game preview stuff right now. Obviously, Buffalo's in a great spot. Cole Beasley is the best setup of them all. Miami has not been good against the pass, but their outside corners are their strength and their interior defense not so much. Now, Josh Allen could beat them with their corners, Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, and Diggs is still going to do his damage, but Beasley's in the ultimate spotter. No Dawson Knox. Gabe Davis may see the field more in this game. I don't know if they're going to play Tommy Sweeney at tight end more, or if they're going to go to four receiver sets and put Gabe Davis in. And if that's the case, but we don't know this, so we have to see. But so it's a real wild dart throw with Gabe Davis because he may not get those snaps. But I do think that would be their best route, but that's me thinking and not them. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to take questions top of the hour. I see you putting those in. I will get to those questions. I'm just doing some game previews for the next couple of minutes. Carolina, Atlanta. I always say be careful here. When you get two teams that are not very good, we never know. It looks like it could be a shootout, and then the game could end up 10-3, right? Well, here's the thing. So Carolina comes into this game offensively in a great spot. Atlanta really can't stop anything. They can't pressure the passer, and their only good pass rusher was Dante Fowler, and he's on the injured reserve. So really, this is a bounce back spot for Sam Darnold. It's a huge bounce back spot for him. And so I think he could really come through here after being horrible for a few games. So if you're in a real pinch at quarterback, let's say you got Dak Prescott and you're worried he's not going to start, which right now it looks like he's not going to, but we won't get word till game time. If you have no other option, Darnold could be viable this week. I know gag, but when he's had favorable matchups, he's done okay. All right, let's see what else we have here. Again, welcome everyone. Take questions at the top of the hour. Now, one more thing with the Atlanta game. Staphon Gilmore is back. They traded for him. He's on their field this week. I don't know how they're going to use him. If I'm the coach, which I'm not, I'm saying, Kyle Pitts lines up on the outside. Gilmore's a physical corner. Yep, we're putting Gilmore on him. But I don't know they're going to do that. If they do, I would think that Gilmore has so many tricks in the book that he can definitely make it miserable for Pitts a bit, but that's a guess. So you keep going wheels up on Pitts until they show otherwise, but don't be surprised if they do that. Calvin Ridley at this point, the average depth of target is so low, we don't think the ceiling game is coming, but the matchup is certainly prime for it. You're not sitting him in season-long leagues, but you are concerned because he hasn't had that big game yet. All right, we're close up to the top of the hour. We'll take some questions. We've got a couple on Instagram, then I'll get to the ones that are on Twitter and YouTube. All right, let's see here. We had a question from RMT 927, Jimmy G or Goff in the standard league. So the Bears being down Khalil Mack helps a lot. And the Bears are good against the run. So San Francisco is going to have to get some things done through the air. And I think this is an optimal situation for Jimmy G because the lack of pressure with no Khalil Mack, the defense can really adjust to the other players. And I'm not sure if Akeem Hicks is playing or not. We won't find that out for another half an hour. But regardless, it's a good matchup for Jimmy G. Whereas Jared Goff, they're playing Philly. He's going to get his dump offs. I think they're going to run the ball with a lot of success here. Ultimately, Philly can get pass rush, and that's problematic for Goff. I do think he'll get some numbers. I think Jimmy G's a safer play, but Jimmy G's safe, right? In the same sentence, good luck with that, right? And then, all right, let's see what we got here. And then Elijah Mitchell or Devontae Booker. So, Devontae Booker, they're playing with Saquon out. I got to say Booker here. I love Mitchell. Mitchell's a much better player, but Booker's in a spot against Kansas City. They're going to have to play catch up. Kansas City can't stop anybody. It could be screen passes. It could be running. And so I think overall the Bears are good against the run, whereas Booker's in a spot where they're going to have to score points and he'll be on the field. So I'm going to lean Booker. I'm going to take the less talented player here because the situation is just so good. All right, let's get over to the questions I have here. Kavon, Booker, Daryl, Williams, or Hubbard. Hubbard's in a great spot this week. They're playing Atlanta. They're like the fourth worst team against the run, and Hubbard doesn't get as many touches as we like, but Atlanta also gives up a lot of production to receiving backs. They're the 10th worst team against receiving backs. So really, it's a great spot. Hubbard has floor. Hubbard has ceiling. Booker does as well. But I think that in this game, Hubbard, because the game could be closer, Hubbard could be more involved. There could be goal line work. And Daryl Williams, he's always in the mix, but I think ultimately Kansas City wants to throw more. And I know he's gotten a couple rushing touchdowns in a recent game. It's a real tough call. If you have a gut feel, go with it. I'm going to say Chuba because I think he has the best matchup of the three, and he's most likely to see the heaviest workload. So that's a great question there. All right. And then Mooney over Khalil Herbert. That's all right. So Khalil Herbert's safer. All right. We love Mooney's matchup because San Francisco's terrible against wide receiver twos. They're without D Ford. They're without their free safety. They're without a linebacker. Actually, there's 4 defenders out for them. But ultimately, Herbert's going to see a lot of work. So Herbert is rock solid safe here, and Herbert will have a really good game. And Mooney, we still are risking on Justin Fields. He's had a 125-yard game, Mooney has, and with Fields when they played Detroit. So that is on the table. But I think Herbert is so safe, and Herbert has similar upside. I don't think you could sit Khalil Herbert seeing like 85% of the snaps. I think he's too tough to sit here. All right, back to Insta. We got Benzie91. Hubbard or Gainwell, PPR into flex. So, yeah, we love Kenny Gainwell's matchup here. Now, we don't like Jordan Howard is in the mix. Not that Gainwell's getting goal line work anyway, but if they're near the goal, Gainwell won't be on the field. We know that Boston Scott will be mixed in as well. I think Hubbard sees a higher percentage of the work. They both have amazing matchups here. I think that Hubbard will be utilized more than Gainwell. I think this might be a week where Jalen Hurts can get the ball to his tight ends and receivers because there's no pass rush coming from Atlanta. So he won't have to dump the ball off to Gainwell. So for me, that's the smash point, and that's where I think Hubbard gains the edge. If you have a gut feel, go with it because Gainwell is very explosive, but I think Hubbard gets a lot of work here. All right, Javi, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, or Chuba for the flex. So Mike Williams is healthy. We don't know how New England's going to come out here. We don't know. It's tough for them because who do they take away? Their whole thing is they take somebody away. Well, do you take away Williams? Do you take away Keenan Allen? Do you take away Austin Eckler, who is playing? It's a real difficult call for them. And my thought, though, is Mike Williams plays the X. And the last game he was hurt, he only played a few snaps. And he almost had a touchdown in that game. But when he's been healthy, he had the one bad game, but he has been gold in the X receiver spot, finally used as he should have been used his whole career. And he has a quarterback who can get him the ball. I'm going to bet on Justin Herbert throwing the ball downfield, not fearing anything. Mike Williams is more physical than the players that'll be defending him. Mike Williams is definitely your guy. I think floor and ceiling. Keenan Allen really hasn't had ceiling in this offense this year. Chuba Hubbard, I love his situation here, but I think we're going to bet on the more talented player who is going to be a focal point of the offense here. Hubbard probably has the safest floor. He's going to get 12 to 15 touches. We can pretty much guarantee that, so we're in good shape there. But again, Mike Williams, I think, has a floor. He's healthy now, and that's huge. All right. Oh, I got to click the questions on. I'm sorry, guys. I haven't been. This one's coming from Insta, so I can't click it. I have 2: Sutton or Mike Evans. It's a small sample, but Evans has struggled against Marshawn Lattimore, very physical corner. He definitely slows him into his route. Brady's going to be more likely to go off to Godwin. Evans can always score, but Evans has had some really bad games against Lattimore. So Sutton is in a phenomenal spot against a Washington team that can't cover. Washington is they're the 11th worst against wide receiver ones. So I think we're going to be fine with Cortland Sutton there. And Benzie, I'm coming back to your question. I'm going to click some questions on the other side here. All right, here we go. Finally remember to do this. Martin, you've got Manny Sanders, Landry, or Gibson. So Manny Sanders has been very, very steady. Yep. I'm not worried about the outside corners of the Dolphins. They move Sanders into the slot on occasion as well, but they run so many crossers with him. I think he's very safe, and you could tell he's a very integral part of the offense there. So I think every week he's seeing work, and you're good. Landry, I'm just, when OBJ's in the lineup, they're going to cannibalize a few targets they have. So that gets me concerned. And Gibson, Gibson has a lot of upside here, but he's playing on that calf and that's calf at the shin, the injured shin. And so we haven't seen the upside games. Yes, he could get a couple touchdowns today. I know he can do that, but we've seen that if the calf I keep saying calf. The shin is bothering him. He may not get the work we want. And so there's too much downside. I think Manny Sanders is your safe play here. Now, I don't know that Sanders is a ton of upside this week because I think they can get the ball to everybody. I think Gibson would, if you're an underdog in your game pretty heavily, I think Gibson's, you could definitely utilize him because his matchup, we saw Denver, they could not slow down Ernest Johnson 2 weeks ago. They just ran it down their throats. And I think Gibson could do the same here. Sanders is your safe play. Back to Insta, Devonta Smith or Jacoby Myers. So Jacoby Myers has not had the upside games at all, and the Chargers are very good against the pass. Devonta Smith, though, this is a matchup. When he has a good matchup, he does well. Detroit will have no answer for him. I have him in DFS this week. I do expect Devonta Smith to have one of the best games. He's had one or two good games. This could be his best game, I think. I think he has a really good showing. I think he finds the end zone. I think he flirts with 100 yards here. I'm going to say that for sure. All right. And then Ramon, Tony, Amari, Daryl, Williams, and Sutton. So Tony plays Monday night, and we don't know for sure what his ankle is. Right now, it sounds like he's going to play. I don't think you could wait because the pregame warmups, let's say he tweaks it again. It's too much of a risk because you have other good options. Amari, love Amari, but now it looks like Dak probably doesn't play. And so now we're stuck with this again. And can Cooper Rush get him the ball? Is Dallas just going to come in with their great offensive line? Lyle Collins is back. Are they just going to run it down Minnesota's throats and control the game? And Amari's targets have been down as it is. And with Cooper Rush, that gets me nervous. Now, I'm just going to bump all the way to Court and Sutton. I mentioned this earlier with a previous question. Sutton has a great matchup. Washington is not stopping anybody. They're Washington's bottom 10 against wide receiver ones. They do have the pass rush, but Sutton has been not just deep routes, but he's getting it done all over the field. I think Sutton is your floor and your ceiling play. He has both. Daryl Williams, it's always iffy. Yes, he had a couple touchdowns a couple weeks ago. How much work is he going to get? Are they going to try to fix their passing game in this game? I think Sutton's the way to go here. Again, Tony and Amari, there's their situations around them. It's not them, it's the situations. And then with Tony and Amari, when their games are, they're the late games or Sunday night, Monday night. And I think that's the problem. All right, going back to an Insta question here from Gap Paoli. All right, Mitchell or Booker? Oh, I think, maybe I answered that for you. But I think I did earlier. I'm going to go with Booker here. I'm going to take the less talented player because the matchup is too good. They're playing Kansas City. If they trail, he's going to see some screen passes. He's going to get some running. Mitchell is far more talented, but the Bears' run defense is good. The game is in Chicago. I love Mitchell, but I think Booker is the smarter play here because his role and opportunity should come up better. And Mitchell's pulled on passing downs, and I hate that. They're bringing in Jermichael Hasty on those. All right, let's see here. Oh, Ramon, you were start too. So we're going to say Sutton. You know what? As your second, I'm going to say Amari because I think Amari gets 5 or 6 targets. And even if it's a Cooper Rush, I think Minnesota can't handle him. Daryl Williams is tough to trust for me there. So I'm going to make Amari the second call. I didn't see start 2 there. All right, let's see what else we got next here. Pigskin highlights, Pitts or Gesicki. So you know what? At this point, Pitts, do I put him over Travis Kelce? Hard to say. Teams are really beating up Kelce short area of the field, and he's not getting open as much. His numbers are suppressed. But back to your question. Look, Pitts has 119 yards. He has like a 130. Right now, they're lining him up as a receiver. They're lining him up as a tight end. They're making him the focal point of the offense. And I mentioned earlier that Staphon Gilmore is back from the PUP list, and Carolina traded for him, and they're starting him. If I'm the coach, I'm putting Gilmore on Pitts when he's lined up outside and thinking that he can, beat Pitts. But I can't predict that's what the coaches are going to do. At this point, Pitts is a must start because his talent level, he could put up a game. Now, Gesicki, he's been great. He's been great, but I just don't think you can sit Kyle Pitts because Pitts can do things that Gesicki can't, and Pitts will be part of that game plan regardless. Devontae Parker is back for the Dolphins, and so that adds another receiver into the mix who hasn't been there. It's a great problem to have, but yeah, that's why I'm gonna say Pitts every time on that. But it's a good question. Joshua, start 2, Alex Collins, Cole Beasley, Jacoby Myers, A-Rob, half PPR. So Cole Beasley's in a phenomenal spot this week. The Dolphins are strongest at outside corner, Byron Jones and Xavier Howard. Middle of the field is where they really struggle. If Buffalo, and this is a divisional opponent, so they know what what Miami has going on. So I think they definitely get Beasley. It's one of those games where he sees a bunch of targets. So I think he's an auto starter. Alex Collins gets me worried. Jacksonville's not good, but they're pretty good against the run. And Rashad Penny got his sea legs under him a little bit last week. I think he's more involved this week. Collins is, dealing with injuries. He's going to play, but we get Homer in there, and DJ Dallas could be involved, and we can't trust Pete Carroll. So that worries me. Jacoby Myers, it's a tough matchup. The Chargers are good against the pass. He gets his 5-6 targets, so he has a good floor. And A-Rob, I hate to say it, but I can't even advocate playing him at this point. I don't know if Justin Fields could get him the ball. And I think Mooney's his guy. And as crazy as that is, it's what Robinson's done this season based on his games. His ceiling has been Myers mid-level. So could he have a big game? Sure. Any one of the games he could have, but it's not there. The targets aren't there. The Bears want to run the ball. So I'm going to say Beasley and Myers here. And if you have a gut feel on Collins, go, but I just think it's too messy in the situation there. All right, back to Insta. I can't post this one on the screen for those on YouTube and Twitter. Gainwell or Michael Carter. So what I liked for Michael Carter last week, well, you continue to see a snap share, and I know that Ty Johnson left with a head injury for a little while, but the snap share for Carter has been over 50%, and that's growing. I think they want to make him their lead back. And Mike White, the quarterback who's taking over, he dumped the ball off all day to Carter. Carter had, eight or nine catches last week. It's either 8 catches, 9 targets, something like this. And I think that continues. White's going to get the ball out, and we already showed that he's got that trust in him. So I think that gives Carter a crazy good floor. Now, Gainwell has a really good matchup. Jordan Howard's in the mix, so anything near the goal, he's going to be involved. Boston Scott's had more touches than Gainwell last week. So I think Michael Carter has the better floor. I think Gainwell is the one who could put up a few big plays and have a ceiling. But I think so. If you need to swing for the fence, it's Gainwell. But if you need a good, stable, low double-digit point effort to make sure that you don't have a dud there, then I think Michael Carter is your guy. Robert, good to see you, man. If Dak is out, Cousins or Wentz. So your problem is if they don't announce Dak is out and you got Cousins, same game. So it's got to be Cousins. So your decisions is Dak or Cousins, I think, because Cousins has a good matchup. So I think you look at it this way, we don't think Dak's going to play. But if it's not posted and you're waiting till game time, you've got Cousins. So you just pivot there. So I think that's your option. Wentz is a great option this week, but he's no better than Cousins. And Dallas is pretty good against the run. I think you could take Dallas through the air a little bit better. And I don't know what the scoring's like if Cooper Rush is in, but at the end of the day, Cousins has been good this year. And I think that continues here. And I just, you hope that Dak plays. We don't know how much smoke screen there is there, right? All right, let's go back here. Good question, Robert. Jose, full PPR, Gesicki, A-Rob, Patrick, or Boston Scott. Gesicki sees his work, and Buffalo is tough against tight ends. They're 4th in DVOA against them. So that's not a great matchup. But Gesicki's a wide receiver. He's basically a slot receiver is what he is. A-Rob, I just can't trust him. He hasn't done anything. He had the 1 touchdown earlier in the season. His yardage has been putrid. Tim Patrick, Jerry Judy's back. So, he's going to kind of float in a little more ancillary role now. Boston Scott, I think he's not getting goal line touches. Jordan Howard's there. Kenny Gainwell's a passing down back. Scott, I think, gets a lot of empty carry touches, like inside runs between the 20s, which isn't going to equate to much. I think you go with Gesicki here. As always, you got a gut feel on air. If you think it's going to be the week, then you go that way. But that's tough to go with. I got another Insta question here. You guys won't be able to see it on the screen. Got Dak and pick up Darnold, Teddy, Matt Ryan off of waivers. All right, so yeah, the problem with all that is you're going to have to make the decision on Dak early. So what I would say is if you guys hear word of definitively early, you could post it on the screen for me. Any inactives that come through in 15 minutes, you could post that for me. Teddy is your decision. If you can wait, that gives you 3 more hours to wait for word on Dak. Not that anything will come out, but it could. That buys you time. Otherwise, love Darnold's matchup this week. There's no passers from Atlanta at all. They're like the 2nd or 3rd worst, and Dante Fowler's on the IR, so he'll have time and they can't cover. So I do think Darnold has a great week here, where I think Matt Ryan's matchup with Carolina is a little bit tougher. And, and then we get Staphon Gilmore in the mix this week, which certainly is going to make it tougher for him. So I think of the point potential, Darnold's a good play this week, a gag, right? But we saw early in the season when he has a good matchup, he can get it done. So I think we look at that. But again, if you want to buy 3 more hours on Dak, then you go Teddy. Games at 3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Eastern, and then that gives you more time to find out about Dak. Of course, you want to play Dak. It's a great question. The second part of your question, CD Lamb or DJ Moore, I mean, you get the same situation here. DJ Moore is in a great spot. I don't think Atlanta has any means to stop him. Atlanta's like the 5th worst team against wide receiver ones, and that's what DJ Moore is. And again, no pass rush on Darnold. So I think DJ Moore has a good game, and he's been, 70 yards at 2 of the last 3 games when Darnold's been horrible. So, I mean, it's a good floor to have. So I think we go with DJ Moore because, they're both phenomenal players. So I got DJ Moore. I think that's how we go there. All right, let's see what we got here. Chris, you've got drop 1. Judy, Bateman, Sterling, Shepard. Shepard's always hurt. It's cop-out, but he's always hurt. And if he plays a game or 2, then he seems to be hurt again. Whereas Bateman, the thing is, how many passes are they going to throw him? Are they going to use him as a downfield target? They got Marquise Brown downfield. So it's a PPR league. I mean, Shepard, when he's on the field, he's getting like 10 targets. But of course, they're missing Galladay. They're missing Tony, not this week maybe. So it's so crowded in New York. So Shepard being hurt, it being crowded, I probably say drop him. If you got a gut feel of keeping Bateman, I mean, that's who it's between. Judy, you got to keep. So, but because of the situation and the injuries at Shepard, I think that's the guy you drop. And Bateman at least is getting work already, and he's still working his way in. All right, let's see. We got more questions here. Let me scroll my screen here, see where we're going here. Got a bunch more here. Guys, all right, here we go. Kavon, T. Higgins, Marvin Jones. T. Higgins had 15 targets last week. Joe Burrow is just missing with him a little bit. They're playing the Jets this week. The windows will be more open. Now, of course, if they run the ball all day, that's entirely possible. Marvin Jones is easy matchup with Seattle. Seattle isn't getting a great pass. They're a little below average with that. It's a real tough call here. I think Higgins gets targets. We know that. And they do target him in the red zone when they're down there. So I think there's that. I think Higgins is your safer play of the two. Higgins has a good floor. I think they both have similar ceilings, even though Higgins hasn't shown it yet. So I'm going to lean Higgins here. Marvin Jones, again, we saw a good game. We saw a bunch of really middling games, but the target share isn't consistently there. And I think the Seattle-Jacksonville game could be a lot of running. I think both teams will try to do that. And even though Cincinnati probably plays with a lead, Higgins is a big part of their passing attack. So I'm going to go with Higgins there. All right, Robert, need 2 half PPR. Woods, Mike Williams, DK, or Tony. So Tony, again, we don't know what his ankle is truly like. He's Monday night game, so I think we rule him out. Woods, other than the game, they force-fed him the 14 targets. He's 5 or 6 targets a game, and he's been decent with that. DK finally has an easy matchup at 2 levels. Gino can throw this week, and I just said they probably want to run. They're going to throw some. And there's no pass rush to speak of coming from Jacksonville, and there are no corners to deal with DK. So I actually think Gino Smith is going to throw some and be good with his opportunities. And I do think DK comes through pretty well. Mike Williams, to me, he played hurt last game, and he only played a few snaps, like 26%, maybe something like that. And he's back to full health. Matchups, you know what? New England could decide to try to work on him. But, Justin Herbert's getting him the ball. He's the X receiver. Mike Williams is showing what he should have been all along. It's Mike Williams and DK for me. And I think I'm very, very confident in that one. Johnny, Claypool, Cooks, Waddle, need 1. So the Rams do put Jalen Ramsey in the slot a lot, but I don't think they are terrified of anybody other than Cooks. So this could be a week Ramsey travels. He could just stay with Cooks because nobody else scares them. I don't know that they will, but my inclination says that's what they do. Waddle should see a lot of targets in a game that Miami trails, a lot of short stuff, but it adds up. Is low ADOT, low yardage. But if you're going to get me 8 catches and you're going to get me, 55, 60 yards, it's a pretty good baseline. Claypool, here's my problem. I've always now he had the two good games. One was Deontay got hurt, so he had that short roll. Juju got knocked out of the game. He played the slot. He took advantage of those. But James Washington, and we don't know if Washington now is going to be in the slot. We don't know how they're going to handle Claypool. The other problem is Cleveland puts a heck of a pass rush on, and Ben is terrible with that. Claypool's best element is downfield. So I think Jalen Waddle is safest here. Claypool has floor until we get a definitive roll out of him here. All right, see you guys on Insta. I can't take requests to be in the video. You can just post a question. I apologize for that. Just kind of trying to answer questions on 3 different platforms here. So I'm sorry I can't let anybody in, but you can post a question. I'll be happy to answer it for you. All right, Scott, let's see. You got 2 in standard, Mitchell, Shepard, Higgins. So Shepard is not 100%, and I think with him hanging a Monday night game, that's enough to rule him out. I think Higgins has that stable role in the offense. Mitchell's going to see plenty of early down and red zone work when they're there. Bears aren't a great matchup, but Shepard just not being 100%, and who knows? Who knows he even plays, right? And if he plays, does he aggravate it? So I think that's enough to just rule him out of that one. Good question. Oh, yeah, look at that. Saludos, amigo. Hey, Venezuela, nice. Good you're here. Glad to hear. Before I take this question, John, I got a couple Insta questions here. Damian Harris or Daryl Henderson? Good problem to have. Very good problem to have. So basically, both of those runners are going to get 15 to 20 touches. They both have really good matches. The Chargers are god-awful against the run. And I think, Daryl Henderson is a great matchup as well. So they're playing Houston, who's 3rd worst against the run. You can't go wrong with either one here. But you know what? Henderson is seeing like all the work, and Henderson and Damian Harris sometimes splits work. So that's why I'm going to lean to Henderson. We know he's getting 80+% of the work, and that's how we go. One more Insta question, which you guys won't be able to see on the screen on Twitter and YouTube. Need 2 of 4. Marvin Jones, Jarvis Landry, Eli Mitchell, Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert's an auto in for me because he's seeing 80+% of the work, and he's been very good. Jarvis is problematic because Odell Beckham's there, and I don't trust Baker with his other shoulder being hurt. You're between Marvin Jones and Eli Mitchell. So, Mitchell gets red zone work. He gets between the tackles, doesn't see passing down work. Tougher matchup for him. Marvin Jones, though, it's real up and down as to what targets he gets and opportunity he gets. I do like his matchup here. So Herbert for sure. And then the second one, if you want a safe base of points, then I think you go with, I got to scroll back down, Mitchell. If you need to take a potential low floor for a potential spike game, then I think that you go with the Marvin Jones route from there. All right, let's see what else we got here. All right, John, I got your question on the screen here. Which wide receiver? Terry McLaurin. Oh, man, it's a good problem to have here. So, all right. So I always say, sure, you start Mike Williams, but you got Terry McLaurin. Mike Williams, there's a chance that New England comes in and they make him the focal point because he's the most dangerous because of the downfield element to his game. McLaurin has a phenomenal matchup here. So, Denver is struggling. They're 2nd worst against wide receiver ones. They're not getting any pass rush at all, which means downfield routes can develop. So for me, it's going to be Terry McLaurin because, again, 2 very, very supremely talented players. But I think McLaurin has the better opportunity here. All right, let's see who's going next here. Martin, Kadarius Toney or Manny Sanders? Again, anything with Kadarius Toney is when you have another good option. Him has a Monday night game. He's still questionable. They think he'll play. We saw the last time he came out, he aggravated the ankle after, 3 catches and 8% of the snaps that came out. I think at this point, you got to see him play healthy when you have another good option. So I think you go with Sanders because he's a part of that offense every week. And then once you see Toney play healthy, no setbacks, then I think you're, okay, wheels up on Kadarius Toney. But right now, I think you got to roll with Manny Sanders. Got a question from Insta. Akers Bob. DJ Moore, Pittman. Another good problem there. Both are in phenomenal spots here. Because Atlanta gets no pass rush, they can't cover. Darnold actually has a good matchup. DJ Moore is the alpha there. And so I do think DJ Moore is a great matchup, as does Pittman. DJ Moore is an immensely talented player. He is probably a top 8 NFL wide receiver right now. Pittman has games where they don't utilize him well. And DJ Moore is going to be used. That base of certainty lets me go toward DJ Moore. They both could blow up here. We don't know which will blow up more, but the probability, the higher floor for DJ Moore makes me go that route. All right, let's see what we got here. Where's the sound? If somebody else isn't hearing sound, let me know. Type something in so I know there's not sound. I don't see anybody else having that, so I don't know what the issue is. All right, let's see here. Randy, you need one in non-PPR, Javonte, Samaje, or Rashad Penny. Javonte Williams has the most secure role of the three backs. He's been effective. Washington is good against the run, but Washington, let me just check something here. Washington is very bad. They're 6th worst against the receiving backs, and Javonte's been involved there. And I know you're non-PPR, but the yardage still counts. I'm going to say Javonte Williams with the secure role is the one you go with there. Insta, got another 2 questions here, so you won't see those on the screen on Twitter and YouTube. A.J. Brown, you got A.J. Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, or Keenan Allen need 2. So A.J. Brown's an auto start. Great floor, great ceiling, no problem there. Your other 2 ones, it's a more difficult option. Keenan Allen has not had the performance that he's had in the past because of the emergence of Mike Williams and the usage of Austin Eckler. Manny Sanders, of course, he has a very stable floor. Manny Sanders is used more in the red zone than Keenan Allen is, and that is why I'm going to move toward Manny Sanders. If you have a gut feel on that one, go with it. But Manny Sanders is more of a factor in the red zone. They both probably see similar looks, and that's why I make that decision that way. One more on Insta, Khalil Herbert or Goddard. You know what? Goddard, although I love him, the role is very insecure. We don't know what we're getting week to week. Herbert is getting a lot of work. He's 80% of the snaps. I think you got to go with the floor because he has a similar ceiling to Goddard. I think that's the way we go there. Samir, Vikings, the viable option of the exits? Yes. Defenses are so fickle. I mean, you can have the best defense on the board one week against a bad team and they don't score you anything. So, yeah, I mean, if Cooper rushes in, I think Dallas runs the ball on their throats. I don't think Minnesota has any answer. Minnesota's like bottom 9 against the run, DVOA, and Lyle Collins is back, and I think they just run down their throats. So I don't know that they're going to put Cooper Rush in a spot where he's going to have a lot of turnovers. I mean, they're a good defense. The Vikings had a great pressure rate. The Dallas offensive line just kind of probably neutralizes them pretty fast. So I mean, they're viable, but if you have a defense against a bad offense, I'd probably go that route. Johnny Football, Daniel Jones or Trevor Lawrence. Here's the only concern with Lawrence. Love the matchup. He's going into Seattle to play. It's a very hostile environment. That crowd does make a difference. And I think the rookie quarterback going in there, that makes me wonder of the energy that Seattle brings, like we saw on Monday night. That's typical energy there. Whereas Daniel Jones is playing Kansas City. And if you can't get it done against Kansas City, right? So, I mean, I got to say Daniel Jones there. I know he's Daniel Jones, which is the problem, but I think that's the way we got to look at this one. Kavon, Mooney, Marvin Jones, or T. Higgins. So I love Mooney as a play this week. San Francisco is bottom 3 or so against wide receiver 2s. Justin Fields is his favorite target. D. Ford is out of the pass rush. They're down a free safety. 4 total defenders out for San Francisco. So I think Mooney is a great play this week, but it's very hard to sit T. Higgins. T. Higgins had 15 targets last week. Now they may run more this week in a game that they likely control against the Jets, but T. Higgins is very stable, and he hasn't had a great game yet, but that's coming. That's coming. It just, the connection hasn't quite been there with Burrow. So as much as I love Mooney, I think Mooney's your upside play this week. But if you want the safe, stable floor, you go with T. Higgins. Marvin Jones is just, his ceiling isn't quite what I'd like. His floor is a little lower than I'd like. And Mooney does see targets. So I'm going to say Higgins for that safe play who has some ceiling. He hasn't shown it yet. And Mooney is your guy that you're going to risk some floor. But I think he could have 100 yards and he could score this week. So I think Mooney is somebody that you think about there. All right, see what we got here. Iron Eddie. Herbert or Gainwell? All right, so believe it or not, Jordan Howard's in the mix now. So any goal line work goes to Jordan Howard. Boston Scott out-touched Gainwell this week. I don't know how much Philly has to throw to the running back this week. Detroit doesn't get pressure. They're at 23rd in pressure rate. So I think Gainwell may not have to be a function of things. Herbert's going to see 80+% of the work. he's been very good. He ran on the Bucs. Nobody runs on the Bucs. So for me, it's going to be Herbert. I just don't think game script goes away for Gainwell. We want other factors that get me a little bit worried. Eddie, are you ready for taking your next question? I got one on Insta here. So we've got Kabroom 23, Daryl Williams or T. Higgins. And again, Daryl Williams, we don't know what we're getting week to week. And I think Kansas City may come out and try to fix their passing game this week. It may be a get-right game, and they need that for their confidence right now. T. Higgins is a major part of the offense, 15 targets last week. He hasn't had the big game yet. It's coming. It's coming. But his floor is good. So I'm going to say T. Higgins there. And I got one more Insta here from D.D. Lombard. Carter or Devonte, half PPR. So last week when Mike White took over after Zach Wilson got knocked out, Carter had like 8 or 9 catches. And I think that the quarterback White is going to look to dump it off to Carter. Carter's getting a lot of snaps here. He had a little extra last week because Ty Johnson left with a head injury for a short period of time, but he's still in that 55, 65% snap range. And so I think Michael Carter is safer. So you're very welcome. All right, let's see. Iron Natty. So here's your question on the screen. Half PPR, Jacoby, Alex Collins, or Penny? Jacoby doesn't have a good matchup this week. Chargers are very good against the pass. I think you could ding him underneath a little bit. So I think he'll get some catches there, which is a good thing. Collins and Penny, it's tough. Penny got his sea legs back last week. We know how much Pete Carroll loves Rashad Penny. And, Homer's still involved. DJ Dallas could be involved. So I'm just going to say Jacoby because he's on the field all the time. And Jacksonville against Seattle, Jacksonville's actually better against the run than they are against the pass, for what it's worth. I mean, they're horrible against the pass. And I'm going to go Jacoby. Now, if you have a gut feel on Collins, again, you go with it, but will Penny take more work this week? And that worries me. Jacoby, we know his role. All right. Another Insta question here. Gainwell or Boston Scott? That's got to be Gainwell because Gainwell's the receiving back. And I know Scott can catch it, but they're going to use Gainwell as more of the lead. If they're in the red zone, it's going to be Jordan Howard at the goal line. So Boston Scott's going to get the empty calorie touches. Gainwell will get more leverage touches as in catches, and he can make more explosive plays. So I'm going to say Gainwell there. Jose, let's see what we got here. I skipped you. I'm sorry, dude. I'm glad you reposted. Full PPR flex. Gesicki, Robinson, Patrick, or Boston Scott. So, look, A-Rob, if you have a gut feel, fine. What he's done, we can't play him right now. He just has not shown. He's had good matchups. He hasn't done anything in them. Tim Patrick, I'm worried because Jerry Judy's back in the mix. And even Albert O's in the mix, second tight end. They like to use some 2 tight ends. So I think Patrick's snap share goes down a little bit. And Boston Scott's those empty calorie touches because Gainwell's going to get the high leverage ones, Jordan Howard at the goal. So I think it's got to be Mike Gesicki. He plays slot receiver. I know he's a tight end, but he's a slot. And, Buffalo's not a great matchup, but Gesicki's a great athlete, and he's been producing. So I think you go with him there. All right, let's see. Got another Insta question here. Mike Williams or Mike Evans? That's a tough one. Well, so it's a small sample size. I was talking earlier about Mike Evans. Marshawn Lattimore has kind of had his number. I mean, he gets physical with them. He keeps him from getting into his route. Brady isn't going to be able to be patient. He's going to get the ball out. And if Evans doesn't get into his route, that makes for a long day. He's got a lot of downside here. Evans always has upside because he's Mike Evans. But I think Mike Williams, that knee was a problem. He only played 20-something% of the snaps in the last game. When he's on the field, he's an ex-receiver who's playing like the first-round draft pick he was. I'm going Mike Williams here. All right, get more comments here. Let's see if I miss anything here. If I ever miss your question, let me know here. Let's see if I'm missing here. Iron Eddie, did I get this one? No, I don't think I got this one. Here we go. It's probably the next one here. All right, good. All right, half PPR, better stash. Bateman, Gallup, or T.Y. Yeah, so you have Pittman, right? So, I mean, you're going to feel uncomfortable probably starting both T.Y. and Pittman because it's not a high-volume passing attack. And I think – so, but, and Dalton Schultz seen a ton of targets. And Yeah, I personally agree with Mario, who does the show on Sirius with me on Saturdays. I agree that Gallup's going to get targets when he comes back in. I think it's going to be at the expense of the tight end. I know he doesn't play. He's an outside receiver, but I think that target distribution is going to change. I think that, either Cooper or Lamb are going to be in the slot more because there's 3 receivers now instead of them both being outside guys. And so I think the dynamic of targets is going to change. Gallup is a really good player. And I think that when Prescott has him in lesser coverage, he's going to go there. So I think Gallup is your best stash of the 3. It's a great question. Got another Insta question here. PNLB, Buffalo or the Rams defense? Yeah, so I think Buffalo shut out Miami last time they played them, and Tua, they're going to put some pressure on him and make him uncomfortable. At the end of the day, the Rams are playing Houston. Davis Mills, it's not a good match for them. If they shadow Cooks at Ramsey, it's going to be a tough day for them. I think you got to go with the Rams here. I think Miami can figure out – Miami's got enough talent to get some things done, whereas I don't think it's the other way for Houston. So I think you got to lean the Rams. It's a good call on that. Jose, you're welcome. Johnny, any Bears props bet today? So Darnell Mooney on the over on the yardage. I had the yardage up yesterday. I think it was in the 40s or something like that. Yeah, I think this is a big day for Mooney. I think that's a really good one for them. San Francisco's terrible against wide receiver 2s. D Ford is out. They're missing a free safety, Jaquaski Tart. So, yeah, overall, I think that's kind of the way to go. If you guys see any inactives coming through, let me know that they're important ones. I know the obvious ones that have already kind of been declared, but if anybody surprising is, let me know so I can answer questions better. Hey, Scott, good morning. Glad you're here. Salty Peppers, Rob or Hardman. Oh, man, it's come to that, right? Oh, my gosh. All right, so, look, the Giants, I don't think their coaching staff is, smart enough, and their talent isn't good enough to take away Kelsey and Hill. I think they get them right in this game. Hardman's been eating largely because of the Shells defenses are playing against them, and Hardman what's been there. I think Hill and Kelsey are going to be open this week, and I think that's going to diminish Hardman's role. Now, do you start A-Rob with any confidence? Not so much. But San Francisco's pass rush has not been good. I know they got Nick Bosa, not been good. And D Ford is out. So there's a chance that A-Rob gets something going here. I think I like him better than Hardman because ultimately he does get more targets. And if the Bears can get the ball in the red zone, I mean, there's a chance that A-Rob scores. It's a tough call. If you got a gut feel, go with it. But I'm going to lean A-Rob 60 to 40%, pretty sizable. Scott, you got Hurts or Brady? Yeah, I know. This is not a good matchup for Tom. Tom has so he's played 3 times. He played New Orleans. We throw out the first one. It was week 1 of last year, but he wasn't great in those other matchups. And Antonio Brown's out here. Jalen Hurts, he's done a lot of his damage in garbage time. There won't be probably garbage time here. They're playing Detroit. But he can get it done against Detroit. And I don't think Philly's configured to run the ball. They put Hurts under the gun. This is a pass-first team. So I don't ever want to sit Tom Brady, but it's not a good matchup. I know the Saints haven't been getting pressure, but they're really good against the run. They're really good against the pass. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Brady is safe. He's going to get you a couple touchdowns for sure. It's going to happen. He's going to get you 240, 250 for sure. Brady is safe. If you need 35 points out of your quarterback, I don't think Brady's getting that this week. Hurts can. Hurts can lay an egg because he's not a good quarterback. And if he doesn't have to run, maybe he doesn't. So Brady's safe, swing for defense is Hurts. And I got an answer that way because that's really what the answer is. Stafford or Hubbard. I know that the Patriots shut out the Chargers last year, but they had to have learned from that. And the coaching's better this year. Joe Lombardi's doing a much better job with them. And Mike Williams, they're using Mike Williams. I think that the Chargers, and I know Baltimore undressed them. I get it. But you got Stafford. Stafford doesn't have a bad game. So I think you've got similar ceiling, Stafford to Herbert, but Stafford's got an amazing floor, and I think Herbert may not always have that. The Rams are going to score points no matter what. Is there a world where the Chargers don't score a lot of points? Yeah, I think so. So I think you go with Stafford there. All right, I got some instant questions here. Hilton is active now. Would you play him over Claypool? They're playing Tennessee. I think there's a lot of points scored here. I do worry about Claypool. Myles Garrett in that pass rush, they're going to provide a lot of problems for Big Ben. And I think Claypool's going to play on the outside. When he's on the inside, a couple of games he didn't. He had big games. I don't like him here. I think Hilton showed in that first game back, if Wentz has a deep threat like he has in Hilton, he'll use him. So I'm going to say Hilton here. Now, another instant question here. Stafford, Gibson, Mixon, Gaskin. Don't sleep on them. I don't understand. All right, thanks. Jamal Williams is out for Detroit. Oh, wow. So now we go from a 75% snap share to a 90% snap share for DeAndre Swift. I think his DFS percentage just went up from 40 to 80. He was cheap on DraftKings, like 7,100. Still not pricing him right. Love him there. Wow, that's a great caller. All right, Hugo, Javonte, Booker, Gainwell. You know what? Kansas City can't stop anybody. I believe that Daniel Jones is going to have to both dump the ball off and they'll use the running game. I think Booker has the best role of the three, and the matchup is beautiful. So I think we go with the least talented of the three players here, who's in the best situation, and we go with that. Gainwell's going to split work with both Boston Scott, and if they get the goal, Jordan Howard. Javonte's already splitting with, Melvin Gordon, as we know. I think Booker's in the best spot here. So, and Washington for Javonte. Washington has a good pass defense. So, I got another instant question here. See, we got PNLB. You lost Russell. You got Wentz or Lawrence. So, I do worry about Trevor Lawrence playing in Seattle. It's a tough venue to play in. That crowd gets that team amped up and gets them playing. So I do think that we go the route of Carson Wentz. They're playing Tennessee. It's a great matchup. There should be a lot of points scored here. Wentz has really played well, and there's no reason to think he won't. So I think we're going to go with Carson Wentz here. Trevor Lawrence hasn't had many. He had the 3 touchdowns in week 1. I don't think he's had 2 passing touchdowns in a game since. I think that's correct. So I think we're going to go with Carson Wentz, who's been playing real well. Johnny, calf injuries, I know, are come back earlier with a high risk of re-aggravating. Yeah, Dak probably isn't playing tonight. I retweeted Adam Schefter this morning. It doesn't look like Dak is playing, but if they do put him out there, they're going to feel he can finish the game. I don't think they're going to risk him, but yeah, it's very unlikely he plays. Anybody who's in a league with Dak, you make your best decision. If you're in a 1 quarterback league and Daniel Jones on the waiver wire, that's a great ad play in Kansas City. So that would be a pivot move. I really don't want to put Cooper Rush in. If I had a better option, I'd rather use that. But I think you kind of have to go in with the assumption that he's not playing here. All right, let's see what else we got here. New comment. Let's see what else we got here. Let me make sure I got them all here. All right, Christopher, you're welcome. Iron Eddie, full PPR. Just play Jacoby Myers or drop him and possibly lose him rest away for LaVisca with Corey Davis and AB out. I have no one else to drop. You know what? LaVisca just isn't getting it done. Love LaVisca. I think he's a great player. I don't think they're using him well. I think that's the biggest problem. Jacoby Myers, look, they have him and LaVisca have pretty similar roles in the offense. So I don't know that, you're really losing much. Oh, man, Calvin Ridley out. PNLB, they just posted personal matter. Man, Ridley's dealing with something, huh? Poor guy. I hope his life is okay. He's dealing with something here. That's huge. That's a ding to Matt Ryan. You know what? I don't know how much of an upgrade is for Kyle Pitts, because right now, with that being the case, I wonder if Staphon Gilmore guaranteed follows him, even in line. I wonder if they just say, none of your receivers scare us. We're putting Staphon Gilmore on you. And honestly, as a rookie, I know Pitts is physically dominating. Give me Staphon Gilmore in that one every time this year, because Gilmore is physical. He knows every trick in the book. Wow, that's huge. All right, I think I got one league where I got to sit Ridley. Well, big deal. He doesn't get me any points anyway. But all right, good, great. Thank you for adding that. Yeah, any of these inactives, let me know. Johnny, Jacksonville +3 against Seattle. Seattle is a darn tough place to play, and it's for a rookie quarterback going into that venue. And we got to factor that in. And that's something that the line looks too good to be true in some ways, because Seattle is not a good football team. But Jacksonville's not a good football team. And I think Gino Smith gets it done this week because Jacksonville's not rushing the passer very well. They don't cover. I think that they want to throw. But see, it's Pete Carroll. Is he going to throw, right? But if they don't have success, they can go there. In the past, they haven't been able to go there. So that's real problematic. So I would be more inclined to lay the 3 with Seattle here. Seattle's playing for their season's over, but they're playing for their season because they're getting Russ back soon. So I think this is one that they think they can probably, coming off that Monday night loss, I think they come up big here. I think they come up and win by about 8, 10 points. All right, J Red. Parker starting now. You have the Bills defense. You start Higbee or Gesicki in a, you know what? This is a phenomenal matchup for Higbee. He plays 2 weeks in a row, 100% of the snaps. He's running a lot of routes. They just haven't gotten him, but this is a phenomenal matchup. Houston is very poor against the tight end. Gesicki is a tougher matchup for him. I know he's a slot receiver. He's a tight end, but he plays slot. You know, they use Durham Smythe and Adam Shaheen as their blockers, but Gesicki's safer. Okay, Gesicki is safer. He's going to get targets. Even with Parker, he's going to get targets. But I think Higbee is the upside play this week because I think this week he can get a touchdown or 2, probably 1. I mean, there's a world where I think Higbee eats in this game. But if they get out to a big lead, they could back off. Gesicki's safer. So if you want the safe option, go with Gesicki. And you know what? Even if Higbee goes off, is his upside more to Gesicki? But I still think there's more upside for Higbee this week. But you know what? I want that safe play. It's Gesicki. If it's my team, I love Higbee's matchup so much. I'm going to say 55% to 45% Higbee, and I'm going to go with him because of that matchup. Salty, all right, gotcha. Scott, you guys not here? You got sound. I don't understand. If I'm missing something here, be specific. Tell me what the problem is so I can understand. Okay, Rajiv Ismail or David Boston, the Rocket or Boston. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Man, David Boston for that one season he had, that was the season. But over the course of time, Ismail was a great deep ball catcher. Johnny, thank you. Yeah, man, Kelvin Ridley inactive. That Iron Eddie, thank you as well. That blows me away. Salty Peppers, A-Rob or Hardman. I think we answered that one before, right? I think we said Hardman is probably not going to get the targets this week because I don't think the Giants are smart enough and have the talent to deal with Hill and Kelsey. So I think they get right this week, and that's at the expense of Hardman. Robinson at least is going to get you 5-6 targets, if not more. Yeah, we mentioned earlier. Good, Randy. Thank you so much. Jamal Williams also inactive. Like I said, DFS I already was all in on. I played one lineup, but I was all anyway. It was no matter if I played a 50 lineups, it was 7,100. It was going to be all about DeAndre Swift, and wow, it's even bigger right now. Rams minus 16. Well, if Jalen Ramsey moves and covers Brandon Cooks, I think they cover that one. You know, Houston came out real feisty against Arizona, and then they just, you know, it became what it was. They were just not talented enough. I think the Rams are okay there. I think the Rams, 16 is, if it was 17, it'd be a little worse. I think the Rams are going to be fine there. Jay, all right. Let's see. You had a phone call. I'm not sure. Yeah, I answered. Oh, no, maybe I answered. Yeah, I didn't answer it. So what I told you there was so Higbee's in a phenomenal spot this week. And he has a lot of upside. Houston is terrible against the tight end. Gesicki has a safer floor. He's an integral part of the offense. I know Parker's playing, but Gesicki's like a slot receiver for them. So Gesicki is super safe. Gesicki also has ceiling. So even though I love Higbee's matchup, there are weeks where they just don't go to him. And it seems like Gesicki pretty much is going to get his 6 to 9 targets. So I think Gesicki is just way safer. I think that's how we go. All right, let's see. John. Oh, let me see if I got an Insta here. I got one on Insta. Let's see here. Oh, somebody asked me in the live video. I'm sorry, because I'm doing 3 platforms, and so I apologize. You can type a question. I'll be happy to answer, but I can't bring anybody in because I got 3 platforms going on here. All right. John, click back on here. James Robinson or Antonio Gibson. So the second part is Gronk a GOAT? Maybe. They're saying they expect him to play. There's no official word. I'd be stunned if he didn't play at this point. It's a big divisional game. He's had, 4 weeks off? I imagine he's there. 5 to 10 minute delay when I read them on air. Oh, I got you. Okay, so there's a delay on the question. That sucks. Thanks for telling me. Oh, you're going to see that later. All right. James Robinson or Antonio Gibson. So, look, James Robinson, he's the deal. He gets the work every week. He's using the red zone. He's using high percentage of downs. Gibson, I know he practiced this week, and we're thinking that the shin is getting better, but we haven't seen evidence that he's going to play a full snap share. And so James Robinson has a ceiling. So it's not one of these things that, well, this guy Gibson is a ceiling play. No, I think Robinson's floor is so high and he has a good ceiling. I think until we see Antonio Gibson be Antonio Gibson, I think in good conscience, we have to sit him, even though the matchup is great. James Robinson, though, doesn't have a bad matchup here. Bobby Wagner is like done. So, and Seattle's been better against the run. They're definitely better against the run in the past, but James Robinson gets it done. And so I think he's going to be fine there. All right. Rashad Penny or Mike Davis in flex 16-man half PPR. Mike Davis was like phased out last week. He had 4 touches. And I think they're just realizing it's like more cowbell. It's like more Cordell Patterson. Mike Davis, I just think he's been relegated. Penny at least had touches last week. We think he's got his legs back under him. So my guess is Penny's more involved. Man, Pete Carroll loves Rashad Penny. And he played poorly. But I think Rashad Penny's role is going to expand and Davis's role is contracting. And I just don't see a world where Davis is getting touches. Now, that said, watch him get 20 touches today. I just think he's phased out now. I think that Patterson is the dude. So I'm going to say Penny there. Well, Salty, it does bump Gage, but think about it this way. If Gage is their best option, he's going to see a real cornerback. He's not going to see a bum because they don't have to worry about Calvin Ridley. And so Gage could get volume. Yes, he definitely could get volume here. And that's I think, what you're talking about. So it does bump him a bit. But the fact that he won't be ignored by the defense now because he's their best wide receiver, Pitts is their best receiver. So Gage always has floor because he's like a volume guy. And he depends on having light coverage. So, but yeah, definitely. He'll see more targets than he would have otherwise. Sorry, Evans versus Lattimore or Lockett. Yeah, so, I do like Lockett. And on the Sirius show yesterday, I pointed out that Lockett is a bounce-back player this week. He's getting at least 7 targets a game from Gino. It's just that Gino hasn't been able to locate him. But the Jags can't cover, and the Jags aren't going to be able to get to him. So if they throw, this is a game for Lockett. Evans has struggled greatly against Lattimore. Lattimore is very physical with him, doesn't let him get into his route quickly. Brady is unlikely to wait it out if he doesn't have to. I think Lockett is the better play this week. Now he's Mike Evans. So Mike Evans could do Mike Evans things. So understand, if you sit Evans, there's an eruption game that could be sitting there. But the probability is that Lockett has the better game this week. Ridley is selling my team. That hurts, man. Ridley's been tough. Callaway or Van Jefferson. You know what? Callaway he lived on 2 fluke plays that basically Jameis just threw the ball up and he came down with him. Van Jefferson, like 94% snap share last week. He's becoming a part of the offense. Now, his targets are going to vacillate, but I think Jefferson's in a better offense. He's going to see far less attention. So I'm going to say Van Jefferson. Delroy. Well, it really depends on your options. I was just talking about Gage a minute ago. Gage will now see a real corner. He counts on not seeing a good corner when Ridley's on the field, and he's volume-based guy. But that doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't make Gage a guy that's going to automatically put 50 yards up. Can he? Yes. But I need to know your other options. I probably need to know that better. Johnny. Oh, yeah. Thank you for telling me that. So everyone in the chat needs to be aware. Right. So, yeah, once you post a question, it's going to take me a while to get to it because I give you guys the why more than the what. So it'll take a little time. I think that's what you're talking about. Henry loves Schultz. Full point PPR. Debo. A.J. Brown, C.D. Lamb, Mike was, wow, you got a good problem. That's a good problem to have. Debo has a great matchup against the Bears. The Bears struggle against number 1 receivers. Khalil Mack's out, so there's no pass rush. Jimmy G probably gets Debo the ball a lot here. I love him. A.J. Brown, to me, is in a phenomenal spot. The last 3 halves he's played a football. He's back to being the dominant player. So I think those 2 right there, I think we can't question them. The only one that we could put in the mix, Daryl Henderson, he's getting his 16 to 20 touches a game. He has a great floor, but Samuel in PPR, he's seen all those targets. C.D. Lamb, I think Cooper Rush getting thrown in the mix, that worries me a bit. Mike Williams, I love Mike Williams. I think Debo this week has equal upside. Love Mike Williams. There's a world of Patriots focus on him. So I think the best plays we're looking at here are going to be Debo and A.J. Brown. That's what I'm going to go with there. I mean, you go with any gut feel you have on those because any of these guys can pop for you. I would shy away from Lamb only because Cooper Rush is very hard to count on him when your other players have optimal situations. Daffy, need a receiver and a flex. Brandon Cooks, Cole Beasley, Jalen Waddle, and Gaskin. So Cole Beasley, it's a great setup for him this week. The best corners for the Dolphins are the outside corners, Byron Jones and Xavier Howard. In the middle of the field are very weak, and we know that Josh Allen will target the middle of the field. So this is set up for Cole Beasley to be very good. I'm worried about Brandon Cooks this week because I think that there's nobody else for the Rams to worry about. So Jalen Ramsey could travel. He doesn't often travel, but they can be a very easy game plan where they're like, you know what? Cooks is the only guy we worry about, so Ramsey take him. And that really scares me. Jalen Waddle's going to get targets. That's going to happen. They're playing Buffalo. He's going to get those short targets. Buffalo doesn't care about the short passes. So I think he's high upside. Gaskin, I loved him yesterday. And then I found out they elevated Patrick Laird. So another pass catching back. And we've seen just the poor usage of Gaskin. So look, Gaskin, if he plays the full 60-something% snap share, he's the play. But that coaching staff has not shown any commitment week to week to use him. So I think Waddle's safe. Gaskin has real upside. So you go with Beasley. But for the second one, you've got to decide. If you want a safe floor as Waddle, if you want to risk a low floor for some big upside, Gaskin could be the guy because he could go off as a PPR option here. Catching the ball in the backfield. Any more questions on Insta here? No, we're good here right now. Len's in the house. All right, Len. Need a flex for your half PPR. You got Zach Moss, Alex Collins, Melvin Gordon. So, Melvin Gordon, Washington's better against the run than the pass. They're top 10 against the run DVOA. So that kind of shies me away a little bit. Alex Collins, I still think Pete Carroll loves Rashad Penny. I think Penny got his sea legs under him last week. I think Penny's going to be more involved than he was last week. Zach Moss, to me, this is a game for him. Against Miami, he's getting over 50% of the snaps. He gets red zone touches. Miami is not good against the run or the pass. They're 18th against the run, but that when you defend Buffalo, you got to defend the receiver so you lighten the box. And I think this is a week where Moss can find the end zone at least once. And so to me, it's a Zach Moss week. As always, it's so close. If you have a gut call, go with it. If you don't have a gut call, then Zach Moss is the one to go with. Excuse me. Troy, PPR League. Michael Carter, Jerry Judy, Claypool for the flex. So Michael Carter had like 8 catches when Mike White was at quarterback last week. And smart, dumped the ball off, right? Don't want to get killed. And I think this week we're going to see a lot more of the same. So Michael Carter, Cincinnati's been playing great on defense. So I think Carter gets a lot of dump offs there. So I think he's your floor guy. I don't think there's a ton of ceiling, but it's a really good PPR floor. I think your ceiling guy, even though he's coming back from injury, it's going to be Jerry Judy. So Jerry Judy is, they're playing Washington. Washington is against number 2 receivers. They're the worst in the league. And so he comes into a really great spot. And my guess is they waited till he was 100% to put him in. So that's your upside play. Claypool, I worry about the Cleveland pass rush this week. Johnny, oh yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Delroy, Gage, since Ridley's out. Sterling Shepard or Tim Patrick. So we worry about Sterling Shepard because we don't feel that he's healthy right now. He's not 100%. And with a Monday night game, we don't know if he gets shut down. That's the problem. So the Monday night problem. Tim Patrick worries me only because Jerry Judy's back, Albert O's back, and that's less to go around. And Patrick's a really good player, but I think there's a target squeeze there. Gage, we said earlier, not a great player, but he's going to see targets because Ridley's out. So I think the safe play is Gage here. Now, Gage is not a very good player, so he doesn't always have upside. So even though he is going to target squeeze, your upside play is Tim Patrick because he's very good at finding the end zone. But Gage is probably the safe route to go and the one that I would recommend going because there's just so much uncertainty. And again, with Shepard's health, that's always a problem. Brian, oh, I'm glad. Yeah, Mitchell worked out in a torrential downpour. Glad to see him get in the end zone, too. I hate that they're pulling him on passing downs, though. I think he would be so much better than JaMychal Hasty, but they're the coach, right? The coaches figure out what they want to do. Brian, you got another one. Gibson, Williams, or Devonte. So it's a close enough call. Now, Gibson, we don't like the shin injury. He's practicing more. This is a great matchup. We saw Denver just get gutted by the Browns. And it was with Dearness Johnson. It wasn't like Chubb and Hunt either. Dearness Johnson gutted them. So to me, it's Antonio Gibson this week. And you don't know, right? He's going to get pulled for touches again, but he seems to be healthier. The matchup is beautiful, and he's Antonio Gibson. And so I've got to bet on a talented player in a phenomenal spot here. So that's why I'm going with Gibson. Julia, good to see you. Glad you're here. Johnny, Jets defense or the Texans defense? I'm probably going to say the Jets defense because Cincinnati, there's a world, they've won some big games. They could come out flat for this game. They're playing the Jets. I could see them coming out flat. I don't see the Rams coming out flat against the Texans. I think they could sleepwalk their way into 30 points. But I don't think Cincinnati's gotten to that level where they could just show up. And they're still Cincinnati. So I could see a letdown spotter. So give the Jets defense. Julia. All right. I thought Shepard's still questionable in the injury report. I think that's what I see. And I don't have – let me see if I can look it up real quick for you here. Search with Sterling Shepard. Let's see what we got here. Questionable, expected to play. So – yeah, and that's the thing. I don't trust him. When Sterling Shepard's on the injury report, I struggle to trust him. I think that if you have a gut feel on him, he's a Monday night game. And that's what worries me. It's that Monday night game. If it wasn't a Monday night game, I'd view it differently. We'd have some game day reports on how he's looking. What if he freezes up during pregame warmups? So that's you're right. I love Sterling Shepard. When he's on the field, he could get you 10 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown without blinking. He's a very good player. That Monday night game and his injuries scare me. Pep 305, Devonte or Mike Evans. All right, so Washington's better against the run than they are against pass. Mike Evans has the Marshawn Lattimore matchup. I have to say Mike Evans here because Devonte still's in that timeshare. It's not a great matchup. Mike Evans is still a factor near the goal. He can get 2 catches, and they can be for 4 yards and 2 touchdowns. But yet Mike Evans is still Mike Evans. He still could come up with something. So it's a great question. I've got to go Evans here because of he's Mike Evans. That's why. It's not the best answer, but Mike Evans can beat anybody at any time. All right, Julia, let's see. Buy or sell. Cincinnati winning the AFC North. No, I do trust the Cincinnati defense. I think that they're well constructed. They're not a superstar group, but they've already shown the ability to play well together. So I think that is the big deal. So them winning the North, there's going to be a lot of mentally tough games to win. Cleveland has had their problems. But I think Cleveland is a really complete team. And I think Cleveland can come up and win this thing without much of a problem. I think if they play Cincinnati, I think they steamroll them because of their offensive line and their running game. And Cleveland's got to figure things out on defense. But I think Cleveland may get better on defense as the season goes on. So since he can win it, but I think Cleveland ends up winning that division. Johnny, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm going to get the lunch minute. Mitch, good. I'm glad you're here, man. This is for our team. Brandon Cooks or Van Jefferson? This is a good one, Mitch. So Van Jefferson played 94% of the snaps last week. That was huge. He is their clear number 3 now. Now, how much do they have to throw against Houston? That's another question, right? I do fear that they take Ramsey and they say Cooks is the only guy to worry about. So they go out of their norm and they travel Ramsey to take Cooks out and to make sure their defense wins. So I think, Mitch, we go with Van Jefferson here. I think that's the way we go. And we don't have anybody else. If Crowder is an option, I don't know if we have Crowder in or out. I know Crowder's on our team as well. Crowder is going to get his targets, but it's Mike White, right? So I think we kind of wait until either Joe Flacco's in. Yeah, and Mitch will text about this before kickoff. I think Van Jefferson's got to be the way to go. Because if Ramsey's on Cooks, that's a problem. Julia, let's see. Mike, yeah, he is. Oh, man. So the two high shells are killing DK Metcalf. He hasn't had the monster games, but his floor has been really good. It's been really good. And Mike Evans has those weeks where he doesn't get the targets. It's either a Brown week, a Gronk week, a Godwin week, but it's always a DK Metcalf week. And I think when Russ gets back, I think that's the case. So I think we're going to go DK rested away. Love Mike. I think just because Brady has so many things to go with here. Mitch, good. Houston, yeah, oh my God. They haven't had an offensive TD in 3 of the last 4 weeks. And you know who's going to score that touchdown this week? It's going to be David Johnson. He's going to get in the end zone this week. So, yeah, so I think we're good, Mitch. I think that's fantastic. All right. Mitch, make sure you text me if you have any other comments that we got to go over before kickoff. All right, everybody. Appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out with me. And we will see everybody next week. All right, I ended the Insta, and I'm going to end the other one. See any more comments here? And it looks like we're in good